Let's do a hands-on for AWS CodeDeploy. In this hands-on, we will use the CodeDeploy application to perform an in-place deployment of the simple web page to the EC2 instance. And we will use an S3 bucket as the source repository, a revision location, and deploy directly to the Amazon EC2 instance. And we will experience the entire workflow with the prepare EC2 instance with the web server, Apache web server, and the CodeDeploy agent installed. And prepare an S3 bucket to store the application and create the zip2 application version, the version 1 and the version 2, and each containing the index.html file and the appspec.yaml file, and upload both zip version to the S3 bucket and create the CodeDeploy application and the deployment group tagging the EC2 instance as a target, and manually create a deployment for the version 1 and the version 2 to verify the website is updated, and the second deployment for the version 2 to perform the in-place update of the website. Let's do a hands-on for the AWS CodeDeploy. This time, we're going to create the CodeDeploy to set up the simple web server on an EC2 instance. Then we're going to run the CodeDeploy deployment manually. So first, as the preparation, then let's create the IAM role for we will create a two role from the IAM menu. So in the role, the left menu bar, and clicking on the create role, first select the AWS service as the trusted entity, and first we will create the roles for CodeDeploy. So I'm gonna select the CodeDeploy and clicking on the next. So the AWS CodeDeploy role policy will be attached. Click on the next, and they give it names like, for example, AWS CodeDeploy service role. I have already created this one, so I will cancel this one. And next, let's create the other role for the EC2 instance. Clicking on the create role and selecting the EC2. Click on the next. So next, we're going to set the read permission for S3. So S3. So select the Amazon S3 read-only access, and this role allows the EC2 instances to access the file on S3. Clicking on to the next, and name this like the EC2 instance profile for CodeDeploy. I have also already created this one, so I'm going to cancel this one. Next, let's launch the EC2 instance. Go to the EC2 console. I have already created the CodeDeploy tutorial instance, and if we're gonna create a new instance, clicking on the launch instance, and the name it like the CodeDeploy and tutorial EC2. And for the AMI, then I will use the free tier as an Amazon Linux instance. And for the instance type, I also use the free tier and the t3.micro. And we're going to set up the key pair. And if you don't have the key pair, please create from here. And I will use the default VPC and the default security group. Okay, the security group must allow the HTTP access so we can check the result later. And scrolling down to the advanced detail, and for the IAM instance profile, select the EC2 instance profile for CodeDeploy role we created earlier, and further down to the bottom in the user data field, I put the simple script to install the Apache web server, and my region is US East 1, So please set this to your own region. And once configured, launch the instance. But I have already one. I'm going to click this one and cancel. And once the instance is running, and we will add the tag to the CodeDeploy tutorial EC2 instance, and open the tags, and click on the manage tag. So click on the add a new tag, and please add the key will be the deploy target, and the value will be web app. And this tag will be the markup for the CodeDeploy uses to find the deployment target. And going back to the EC2 instance. So next, let's go to the S3. And I have already created the S3 bucket with the name of the CodeDeploy hands-on bucket, which is the blank bucket. And click on the create bucket and name it with the CodeDeploy, the hands-on bucket, and followed by your account or the date to make it unique. And click on the create bucket, leaving all default. And we will save our application file here later. So now let's create a simple application and put it in this S3 bucket. And I'm gonna use the Cloud Shell to create the application file. And firstly, launch the Cloud Shell from the icon in the management console. And we will create the two versions, version 1 and version 2 of the application, so we can demonstrate and update. So firstly, let's create the version 1 application, and making a directory, create the index.html file and appspec.yaml file and deployment script. So firstly, I'm gonna copy and paste the command, the make directory, the CodeDeploy, the app version 1, and move to this directory. And I'm going to create the index.html file with echo command directory here. And this shows the version 1, and then welcome to our website. So create the index.html file. And next, I'm going to create the appspec.yaml file with the cat command. And the same way, the directory that makes the appspec YAML file here, clicking on. So next, create the deployment script. So make directory with the script, and I'm going to make the script file with cat command directory here. Enter, and chmod command, and move to the root directory again. Okay, next we'll do the exact same procedure for version 2. We will create a new directory and a new index.html file with the updated text, and we can reuse the appspec.yaml and the script from the version 1. So on the same way, I'm going to copy and paste the command, the make directory command, and cd to make the move the directory, and next create the index.html file with the echo command, and the version 2 says the thank you for visiting again, and copy the YAML file with the cp command, and again copy the script file with the cp command, and move to the root directory with the cd. So now we're gonna zip both the version 1 and the version 2 directories and upload them to our S3 bucket. So first set the bucket name variable in the the following command, and the bucket name with the CodeDeploy hands-on bucket, and the 2025-1107, and clicking on the enter, and zip the file and copy to the S3 bucket. Okay, on the same way, zip the version 2 file to the copy to the my S3 bucket. Okay, and I'm gonna check the S3 bucket to confirm. So both the CodeDeploy app version 1.zip and version 2.zip are uploaded. So with IAM, EC2, and S3 setup, and we can now configure the CodeDeploy. So go to the CodeDeploy service page, and firstly, we must create an application, and clicking on the Create Application. Now I will name it as the application with the name of my web app, and the computer platform will be the EC2 on-premise, and click on the Create Application. And once the application is created, we create the deployment group, and click on the Create Deployment Group. So next, I name it the deployment group with the web app DZ, the deployment group. And for the service role, I will select the CodeDeploy service role we created in the IAM, and scrolling down. And for deployment type, we're going to select the in-place deployment. And for the environment configuration, select the Amazon EC2 instance, and scroll down. And for the key, I'm going to choose the deploy target and the web app, and which we added in the EC2 instance. So scrolling down to the deployment settings, this time we're going to choose the CodeDeploy default all-at-once deployment. So scrolling down, this time we don't use the load balancer, so uncheck the load balancer. So clicking on the Create Deployment Group. Now that the application and the deployment group are created, we can create a deployment. To confirm that we are in the group is the web app DZ, and scrolling down, and our application is stored in the S3. I will specify the revision location, and firstly, I'm going to set the S3 URI of the version 1.zip file, and paste into the revision location, and scrolling down to the bottom, clicking on the Create Deployment. So after about a minute, the deployment status is now succeeded. So let's go to the EC2 instance, and clicking on the EC2 instance, and the copy and paste the IP address, the public address, into your browser, and you can find the version 1, the welcome to our website, is displayed. So back into the CodeDeploy, and we will create another deployment. Click on the application, and web app, and web app DZ, and create deployment. Then on the same way, choose the web app DZ, and scrolling down, and for the revision location, and this time I'm going to choose the app version 2, copy the URI of the S3 bucket, and paste into the revision location, and clicking on the Create Deployment. So again, after about 1 minute, the status is now succeeded, and going to the browser, it shows the version 2 and updated. So the code deploy has referenced the version 2 code from the S3 and updated the instance. So this concludes the code deploy hands-on, and we no longer need the resources. So please terminate the instance with the instance state to terminate the instance. And on the same way, we also don't need the S3 bucket. The first empty the S3 bucket and delete it. And likewise, we don't need the code deploy application. We don't need this one. And please deploy from here, delete from here, and please delete the IAM role which we've created. So that's all for the explanation.